What is your "this person has no idea how the real world works" moment? A student working part-time at my laboratory at a university came into my office and asked, "So what all can I eat in the refrigerator?" I didn't know I was supposed to bring my own lunch. I looked at him, stunned, and replied nothing, that food is what people brought for their own lunch, but you can use my Grubhub to order. He did not understand. It took 4 tries to get him to realize he can't just eat someone else's lunch. Same student, I walked into the lab room and told him I made a full pot of coffee in the office and he could help himself. Him, a pot of coffee? What's that? He never used a coffee maker other than a Keurig before and didn't even know it was a thing. He was fired a month later for stealing chloroform. Well, that did not end the way I thought it would. He was fired a month later for stealing chloroform. Without context, I'd be freaked out. When I was in boot camp, some kid put his letter addressed to mom with no address attached. I was gonna say that it's not that stupid for a very young kid to do that, but then I realized you said boot camp and not summer camp. I lived with some Japanese exchange students during the final summer of college. They were really nice girls, but one of them, Mari, 19 years old, obviously had no idea how anything worked. She spoke the best English and I was tutoring some of the other girls, while they helped me with my Japanese. But Mari would constantly call me to come to get her because she thought we had free buses, all the buses. After all, we were students. That wasn't the issue. I could deal with that. It was a whole new culture. She was learning. But what happened that made me realize Mari could not be left on her own was when she ended up in Eloy, Arizona. Which was 400 miles and 5 hours from where we were. She had been talking to some guy on campus. He said he was visiting family in Arizona, and she said, "I want to go." He just took her with him, and she went without even telling us. She had just assumed the guy would take her back, but he said he couldn't because he was staying in Arizona. So I had to arrange a ticket, get her on the bus via the phone, and then pick her up 2 hours away because she missed her second bus by napping. This is sitcom material. I'm already excited for what kinds of wacky misadventures Mari is going to get herself into next. I can't imagine the level of confidence to nap on a bus in a foreign country on a trip you've never taken. I was traveling once with an acquaintance and she fell asleep on a bus we were going to need to transfer off of, in the dark, in a city we'd never been before in a country that was foreign to both of us. I had to shake her awake. I don't really think of myself as an anxious traveler, but I'm not physically able to be in REM sleep on a strange bus. My brain won't even let me sleep that deeply for the first few nights in my own bed after I've been gone from it for a while. Mine is a co-worker. He believes that anytime his ex does something with their daughter and he doesn't agree with it, he needs to call CPS. Ex has daughter sharing a room with older sister. Time to call CPS. He calls late at night and kid is sleeping and ex won't wake her up. Time to call CPS and caseworkers. Ex current husband won't give the coworker his pay stubs. Time to call a caseworker. Dude has CPS and his caseworker on speed dial. The dude doesn't understand why CPS and his caseworker keep telling him that since the child is not abused and or neglected and his ex is doing everything the court has told her that she needs to do, there is nothing illegal happening. Dude is still trying to find ways to control the ex and what goes on in her house. I heard of a dad calling CPS because his child's mother didn't do what he thought she needed to do. He, the dad, said his girl was lazy and he had to clean the house. He called CPS on her because she was neglecting him, an adult. Oh, he understands. It's a form of harassment. He is wasting your tax dollars on public services to harass his ex. At a national park, the park ranger says stay on the trails, there are bears in the area. One lady says, isn't that dangerous? Why aren't they in their cages? Mom, we're not a zoo. Employees at Old Faithful, both park service and concessionaire, are routinely asked to set off the geyser early. Yeah, we'll get right on that. Reverse situation. At a zoo, a guy asks where are the monkeys, the cage is empty. The guide says they are probably inside the cave/enclosure, probably having sex, so they won't be out for some time. The guy asks, will they come out if we threw some peanuts? The guide says, would you? The other day, my 18-year-old brother-in-law got married to his high school sweetheart in a parking garage so that they can live off campus at college together. Girlfriend's, now wife, mother is an ordained minister. His parents, my in-laws, were very upset and he couldn't understand why, because it's just a fake marriage for school. Oh no, sweet boy. You are married. I just laughed and laughed. I love him dearly. He is a dumbass. In his defense, they are going to be eligible for a ton of financial aid because of this. If the marriage works out, it's not necessarily a bad gig. If things go bad, who baby? And at 18, chances are, things are gonna go bad. When my roommate, who never once paid for rent or groceries or anything, turns down the only job offer they have ever gotten, in front of me, twice. They were so desperate they called him twice, offering good pay, during COVID, and he had the gall to say no in front of me. His excuse was, "Nah, I'm sure there's something better. $20 an hour is garbage in this city _ Must be nice to be fun employed." How the absolute hell was this person a roommate? When my girlfriend said to me that she was going to easily work 3 jobs at the same time, we were in high school at the time. Oh man, I did 3 jobs, kitchen jobs, for like a month and a half when I took half a year off college as I was a bit lost at the time. Man, it was fucking brutal. Never again. Work 3 jobs? Sure. Easily? Oh good lord no. Depending on where you work, the commutes alone will easily add 5 to 10 hours a week in addition to actually working. I worked 2 jobs once. And it was awful. And the commute was a 5-minute walk to the other side of the mall. I couldn't imagine adding several hours of driving on. Listening to a faulty new car story when it turned out the woman, 42, was driving for 7 months with the handbrake on the whole time. A lot of times I drive like for 10 miles with the emergency brake on. That doesn't say a lot for me, but it really doesn't say a lot for the emergency brake. That's not an emergency brake, it's an emergency make the car smell funny lever. I have so many questions. Mainly, how could the car even go? My boss told me about a friend of his, who told him a life hack. She would get her bills in the mail, not pay them, and then wait a couple of months to pay. Then she would cry so the debt collectors would feel bad and waive the fees for not paying on time. That was her brilliant life hack. Why? Have fun trying to buy a house. What do you mean, there's a global bike shortage? Can't you just order more? What do you mean, that bike won't show up until August? Can't you just bump up the shipment date? No. We can't just order more. We can't just bump up the shipment date. If we could, we would. A fed-up bike shop employee. A first-year college student of mine thought that assignment deadlines were guidelines. Nothing was handed in on time. She emailed me the night before her final exam to see if I'd take some of her late work. I told her hell no. She threatened to report me. I let her. She failed, got reprimanded and was eventually expelled due to plagiarism. She probably got away with it all through high school. I teach lower-level high school students, and I'm only allowed to fail a certain number of them, maybe 2%, before administration comes after me. If I have 10 students who decided to do literally nothing but sleep all semester, admin makes me give them one single assignment at the very end, and if they turn it back in, they don't even have to do well on it, I have to give them a D. Because of this, teachers in my district will do anything to make sure students pass the class without getting to this last assignment nonsense. That includes accepting a lot of late work. It's gotten so ridiculous that the students now know that all their teachers will bend over backwards to pass them. It sucks. Got reprimanded for what? When looking for somewhere to rent after university halls, one of my mates was annoyed because he didn't like the lounge in the house his parents bought him outright to live in. In my defense, the black mold has basically caused the walls to start melting. This reminds me of someone I know. Her parents bought her a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath house with a sizable yard and a swimming pool. She complained that they only covered 1 year of landscaping services. She was also given an additional $5,000 monthly allowance and wasn't expected to work. She said she deserved more because she is their daughter. My favorite quote though is, "When I want $1,000 I just ask for it. That's all you have to do to get money." Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.